Hey guys, this is Frozen Things Studios here, and welcome back to another video. And today, I am once again doing another franchise review marathon series, leading out to a new installment in its franchise. You know how this works already. I don't need to explain it to you all. But if you don't know what it is, it's kind of your fault for not watching my previous videos. So my previous reviews. This has become a trend in my channel now. But yeah, anyways. Now, I'm sure you all know what new movie is coming up, The Expendables 4, or Expendables, but I'll just call it The Expendables 4, whatever. So yeah, right now, I'm going to be reviewing the first two Expendables movies leading up to that fourth film, kicking things off with the first Expendables film. So The Expendables came out in the year 2010, and is directed by Sylvester Stallone and stars some of the most popular 80s cast in a big cast ensemble, and which stars Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Terry Crews, Mickey Rourke, etc. Am I missing someone? I hope not. And so basically, the plot tells a story of a team of mercenaries played by all these popular 80s action stars, and they are on a mission to eliminate a Latin dictator and a rogue CIA agent, and then some action and gore, and yeah, that's pretty much the plot for it. Yeah, I know that isn't saying much, but don't expect a major plot for these Expendables movies, because they're just meant to be like dumb fun action movies. They're not meant to like try to tell a story, a very compelling story. Like, the movie has very little story, a very simple story to make way for the action scenes, but I'll talk more about that later. So yeah, The Expendables is a popular movie. It's actually a movie that's popular just by the fact that this has a huge cast ensemble, and they're they're all from 80s action films, and this movie was pretty much meant to honor the old school 80s action movies, which are pretty much, those cheesy action films, those cheesy fun action films with big name stars in it, like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, like that, and the others. And then now in this one, they're all they all band together to star in one big action film, and it's kind of like the old school Avengers, except that they're mercenaries and not superheroes. So this movie has gained such recognition, and not to mention, this movie also came out the exact same day as a movie that I think is a masterpiece, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which that's actually why Scott Pilgrim versus the World flopped at the box office. I keep hearing people asking, how come Scott Pilgrim flopped at the box office? It's because of this film right here, because this movie came out the same day as Scott Pilgrim. If it wasn't for this film, Scott Pilgrim actually would have done good at the box office, but oh well, it is what it is. The Expendables got turned to a franchise, and Scott Pilgrim just stays as a solo movie. But Scott Pilgrim is well remembered, and I will review Scott Pilgrim on my channel soon, especially when there's a new Scott Pilgrim Netflix series coming up. But right now, let's focus on The Expendables. Now, yeah, this movie shows a lot of promise, considering like what I just said, it's a bunch of 80s action stars assembling in a movie that's supposed to honor the 80s action movies. It's like a modernized version of it, but although I won't say if I think that this movie tries to be too modern or is able to stay faithful to the 80s. I'll say that for later. But yeah, now I will say this though, I am not a fan of this franchise. Not a fan of this franchise. I think this is not a very memorable franchise to me. I saw it first and I was like, yeah, okay. But the more I thought about it, I just don't remember much from it. Yeah, this is not a very memorable franchise. And there's actually only one expendable movie that I like out of the three films. I would say Expendables 4 actually looks good. I'm not expecting a legitimately straightforward good movie, but I want Expendables 4 to be a fun guilty pleasure movie, like what the trailer promises. I mean, like the action scenes look insane. It just looks like a lot of fun, like with all the blood and stuff, and of course, Megan Fox. And I love how they're bringing in female characters in the franchise now. But yeah, but with this one in particular, yeah, I think the fact that this movie wasn't very good, and right now I think this movie still isn't that good. It just shows why I'm not really a big fan of the Expendables, and yeah, but thankfully I don't think this is a bad movie, and I think we can all agree that there is one bad Expendables movie. Yeah, there is a certain Expendables movie that I will rant on. I mean rant. But this one, even though I don't like it, it's not a rant. It's not even a mini rant because, yeah, well, it's not a bad movie, and there's actually some really good things about this one too. I will say that the movie is moderately entertaining with some pretty solid action scenes, especially that final battle. Especially that final battle. I mean, yeah, I kind of enjoy this movie. It's enjoyable. I mean, let's be real here. The Expendables, it's meant to be entertaining. If your Expendables movie is boring, then you have failed. I mean, it's not too entertaining like for me to just remember it because let's be real, I already forgot like as I'm recording this, I already forgot a lot that happened in this movie. Like that's actually kind of why my summary, when I explained the plot, my summary was very vague. It's because of that this movie is just not the most memorable in my opinion. And but it is like when I was watching it, I was never bored. Like not one scene. I was kind of just watching. It was like oh okay, and just enjoy the action scenes. It didn't make me feel anything. I didn't really smile from it, but it just gave just enjoyment the overall. And the action scenes are really good for the most part. It's not the best action, like far from some of the best action. And there's actually one criticism I have with these action, but I'll talk about it later on when I explain the flaws. Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham definitely carry the film. As you know, they're both meant to be the leads of the Expendables, and they're both really good. They both show really good chemistry. I love seeing them work together, and most of the time when we see them work together, the movie can get really good at those points. And I will also admit the story actually is not bad. Yeah, but objectively the story is terrible. It's thinly written. It's very thin and the piss poor. But let's be real here. Like I said this already, I think I said this earlier. The Expendables is not meant to be a storytelling kind of movie. It's meant to be just a movie with mostly action and all story. I mean, not all movies need a legit, story. Movies can be made to have fun and be entertaining. Not all movies need to have a deep and profound story like that. But I will say, though, even though the story isn't very good, at least it's a very simple story. There are times when the story does overcomplicate things, but the most important quality of the story when it comes to these Expendables films is not to get into the way of the action scenes, and thankfully this movie kind of succeeded in that. Yeah, it's solid actually. But other than that, yeah, this movie is a huge disappointment. Probably besides Iron Man 2, I think this is the most disappointing movie of 2010. 2010, and yeah, where do I get started with all the problems? First of all, yeah, I will say this: as much as this movie tries to be faithful to the 80s and pay homage, it does not feel like an 80s movie. This movie feels like an early 2000s movie, and which kind of sucks because I mean this movie doesn't really have the best understanding on how 80s action movies are like. It's like they're just like watching like a few 80s action movies and be like, oh okay, that's how we're gonna do it. But then they don't realize that they actually just made it feel like more like an early 2000s movie because they watched more of those kinds of action movies, which kind of sucks, man. Yeah. But if that's bad enough of a problem, I think the main problem I have with the movie is that it is that it as much as this is a team up movie, the supporting characters like besides Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham are all backsided here. Like like the movie, all these Expendables films have pretty much one problem in common, one flaw in common. They all like have such an overstuffed cast, and they're all like very short movies. They're like all under 2 hours. Actually, the Expendables 3 is over 2 hours long, but then all these films are like an hour or only an hour and 40 minutes, and they'll like have like way too big of a cast. So like there will obviously be some forgettable characters that I'm definitely gonna criticize, and that applies to all Expendables films. But in this one in particular, only Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham actually feel like real characters in this movie. All the other characters here just feel like absolute nobodies. Like they feel just so sidelined and to the point where like they're just so forgettable. And 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 I feel like this movie should feel like a team up movie. It doesn't. All the background characters are just hanging out and just okay. I'm just here chilling, just throwing weapons and stuff, and maybe just fighting for no reason at all, and yada yada yada. And Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham are like, oh, we'll do all the work. You guys just sit down there and do nothing, and just do whatever you want. While they do come together in the final battle, it still doesn't feel satisfying enough with the. It still doesn't feel satisfying enough. I get the movie doesn't have time to develop all the characters, but it focuses way too much on Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham, even if it's meant to be a team up movie between mercenaries. Like, thankfully, the Avengers wasn't like that. Like, imagine if the Avengers was just Iron Man, Captain America, but then Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, and Thor were like all sidelines. Yeah, imagine if that happened. Yeah, like that would go terribly wrong. But but I mean, I understand that this doesn't have a lot of time because of the short runtime, and the fact this movie is supposed to focus more on action than story and character development. But the thing that you could have done is at least just make the team's chemistry feel like an actual chemistry, make the chemistry good. But I saw zero chemistry in the team because at the end it feels like they're just coming out of nowhere, like they're just fighting out of nowhere. Now I will say that there are some good supporting characters like Terry Crews. Huge fan of Terry Crews, by the way. I mean, he's the host of AGT, my favorite reality show, and also Gently as well. I really like Gently. Really like Gently. I can see why some people say that he's the standout. So, but I still think it's Sylvester and Stallone and Statham. I think more on Stallone. More on Stallone, and. But yeah, the rest of the cast are all sidelines. I mean, Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're both like probably two of the most recognizable stars in the 80s. Like, what happened to you guys? Why are you like just so sidelined? I mean, especially Arnold Schwarzenegger. I expected far more from him. Bruce Willis was only in the film in like one scene, from what I remember, and he's just like he's only there just to hire tell Sylvester Stallone to like, oh, go to this place and find this mercenary. But I don't think we see him in the rest of the movie, or do we? I'm not sure. But the movie is ugly looking. Good God, the movie looks absolutely ugly and outdated, and it's embarrassing considering that this movie came out in 2010 in the 2000 decade. I understand this movie wants to pay homage to the 80s. That's why they decided to make it look dark, but that's no excuse to make it look really ugly. Like the dark scenes really affect the movie as you can't even like it makes you have a hard time trying to follow what on earth is going on. Is going on. Like there's the action scenes. While I still think the action scenes are pretty solid. They're all just the main problem I have in the action scenes are the shaky cam. Yeah, so much shaky cam in this movie, like a lot, and it really it really makes me and I know it's not like Born Automaton where like shaky cam's done well. I know there are some movies where the shaky cam is actually used for a purpose, but in this movie you don't need a shaky cam. And the shaky cam is just this movie, the shaky cam is a major criticism I have with the film. And yeah, the cinematography is also really bad, especially in the dark scenes that I just mentioned. Oh yeah, also there's one character named Gunnar played by Dolph Lundgren who is the by far the worst character in the movie. I mean, I absolutely hate this character. I mean, the writers couldn't even decide if he wants to be a good guy or a bad guy. He's like a part of the Expendables, I guess, a part of the mercenaries, but then he just hates on them. He fights. There's a scene where he fights Jet Li for like no reason, but apparently no reason until Sylvester Stallone has to explain to the audience that he was hired. Yeah, show don't tell. Yeah, breaking. Yeah, this movie breaks the show don't tell rule. Yeah, that one. And is there anything else? Oh yeah, the villain's completely forgettable. Yeah, the villains. Maybe this probably has the worst villain of the series. Yeah, the villain is just some random dictator, Latin dictator like that, and I just didn't care. Like, what's the villain name again? Yeah, the villain is like just completely not memorable, and yeah. So overall, The Expendables is a huge mixed bag of the movie. It's able to deliver its promises, while at the same time it doesn't. I mean, Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham were great in the movie. The action scenes were solid. The action scenes were solid. The story was not bad, but not good either. And it is moderate. It is slightly entertaining, and it is a tolerable movie to sit through. But the movie just fails as a team up movie, as it wastes the side characters and gives the two main characters way too much attention. The villain is forgettable, and the movie is ugly, and the movie just looks ugly. And so yeah, as a movie that is very popular, it could have been so much better. But yeah, this movie made a lot of money. The movie made a lot of money to see to for sequels. And spoiler alert, I like Expendables too. Yeah, but I think we can. But let's be real, most of us like Expendables too. But not this one certainly. And yeah, if I was like this back in 2010, if I was if I had the same personality like at the time, and I had a choice between Scott Pilgrim and Expendables, yeah, I would definitely choose Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, I have no idea why this movie won over Scott Pilgrim in that same day release. So with that said, my rating of Expendables, I give it a 2.5 stars out of 5. Yeah, it's mediocre at best. So for my review of the Expendables, what is your opinion of this movie? Are you with me that this movie is meh and a mixed bag? Do you love this movie? Or do you massively dislike this movie? And question: are you excited for the Expendables 4? I know most people aren't looking forward to it, but I kind of am. I explained why earlier. Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review on the Expendables 2. And spoiler alert, it's gonna be a positive review. So yeah, bye guys.